Hi, it's Katrina. What if this isn't the first human civilization? We might be living through humanity's second, third, or even 10th attempt at survival. According to a shocking new study and some archaeological evidence, we aren't the first. In today's video, I'll be telling you about the shocking history of pre-flood civilization, starting with a place that is even older than we thought. The Godfather of Megaliths. What if a great flood didn't end a civilization, just buried its greatest secrets? Göbekli Tepe stole the spotlight with its T-shaped pillars and cosmic carvings, taking the world by storm as the oldest known temple, estimated at 11,000 to 13,000 years old. Göbekli Tepe is one of history's most exciting mysteries, and the one place that might change human history for good. But hold on a minute, because another Neolithic site had already laid the groundwork for monument building on a jaw-dropping scale. Wait, is there another, lesser-known but even more ancient prehistoric settlement buried in the hills of southeastern Anatolia? Yes, there is, and it's called Nevali Çori. Although few have ever heard of it, the site dates to the 9th millennium BC, meaning it is, at the very minimum, 11,000 years old. Because Nevali Çori was more than just a village of farmers, it may have been founded even earlier. From a place this old, you'd expect crude huts and scattered fire pits. Instead, Nevali Çori had rectangular buildings with precision-cut limestone blocks, polished terrazzo floors instead of mud floors, which some people still have, and interior spaces meticulously organized with a clear purpose. This was a town. It was an early blueprint for complex communal living. These people lived in houses, had families, hosted ceremonial activities, built sanctums, and revolutionized urban construction. But they did it around 6,000 years before anyone else. How? The pre-flood civilization that ruled the world. The architectural parallels between Nevali Çori and Göbekli Tepe aren't just uncanny, they are undeniable. Both sites feature T-shaped monolithic pillars and were clearly places of ritual. But Nevali came first, which means that Göbekli Tepe may not be the original masterpiece, but the grand sequel built on top of Nevali's blueprints. What's more, Nevali may have provided not just the construction techniques, but the ideological scaffolding for other towns, cities, and ritual centers. Göbekli Tepe might owe its entire concept to an older, wiser neighbor that just didn't have the same PR team. Who came first? That might not be the right question. What I'm thinking is that it's not about who came first or who built which stone city earlier. I'm wondering if Nevali Çori and Göbekli Tepe were two places built by the same civilization. This mysterious pre-flood civilization could have built more towns, more centers, and more cities in what is now modern-day Turkey. What if Nevali Çori and Göbekli Tepe were only two peas in a much bigger, civilized pod? A pod that got flattened and buried by a flood. Among the tools and figurines, archaeologists also discovered domesticated plant remains at the site, specifically wheat and barley, and that proves that they were growing crops. Nevali Çori marks the exact point where humans stopped chasing antelope and started growing tasty vegetables. Which, incidentally, laid the economic groundwork for organized society, surplus storage, and disputes over land ownership. This, friends, was the beginning of civilization. So, then what happened to it? If Nevali Çori and other sites across Turkey can be dated to between 11,000 and maybe 13,000 years ago, then they are the pre-flood civilization. Forget conspiracies, forget the Silurian Hypothesis, these were the real pre-flood people. This civilization drowned before history even started. What if a massive flood didn't end a world but revealed one? We now have evidence of an advanced civilization that may have existed 20,000 years ago. Long before the pyramids rose from the sands of Egypt or the Sumerians invented writing, an extraordinary civilization may have existed. A civilization wiped off the map by a flood so massive it makes Noah's Ark look like a weekend canoe trip. In Iraq, archaeologists have unearthed a thick, unnatural layer of yellow clay and sand underneath a 5,000-year-old settlement at Tel Farah. This distinctive sediment suggests that an even more ancient city lies buried below the already ancient ruins. And if this sediment could talk, it would say, "Civilization was here, you just missed it." The layer of unnatural yellow clay and sand is more than ordinary river silt. It is a distinctive flood layer, the geological equivalent of a crime scene chalk outline. This type of clay and sand is usually found in places that were inhabited by people. Similar flood deposits have already been uncovered at other iconic Mesopotamian sites like Ur and Kish, as well as Harappa in modern-day Pakistan and Nile settlements in Egypt. Everywhere. Basically, these flood deposits seem to crop up all over early civilizations. Which could mean that either a lot of civilizations got simultaneously unlucky with their plumbing, or we are looking at the geological footprint of an extinction-level flood event. But is it the Genesis flood archaeologists are seeing, or a flood that's even older? In the Bible, the book of Genesis tells the story of a great flood that God sent down to cleanse the earth of wickedness, saving only Noah and his family. But it's possible there have been many great floods. Every ancient civilization has their own version of a great flood story. Researcher Matt Lacroix argues that the destruction of the old world civilizations at the hand of God's flood dates to 20,000 years ago. That would be pretty incredible, seeing as known civilization got its start about 6,000 years ago. That would be 14,000 years after this flood swept across the world and left behind its unnatural yellow clay and sand deposits. Which would mean that there was another civilization before this one that reached its sinful peak 200 centuries ago and was slapped down by God. According to Lacroix, this wasn't a localized flood that messed up a few random towns. It was an era-ending juggernaut that drowned entire cultures and buried their cities in mud so deep they stayed hidden. Until now. If all of this does turn out to be true, because right now it's mostly speculation, it could throw our entire timeline into chaos, which is pretty exciting. The world before the world we know? Lacroix's theory pushes the origin of complex civilization back at least 8,000 years, far before Sumer, Akkad, or even Göbekli Tepe, which is estimated to be about 12,000 years old. He is adding on 8,000 more years beyond that. Think about it. All of recorded human history could be a second act, one that started after the curtain had already dropped on a forgotten golden age of previous ancient civilizations. What kind of tools did they have? Did they chart the stars? Did they build monuments that are now underwater or buried? Experts don't know. But now, they might finally start to find out. Because if there was a mighty civilization that moved mountains and harnessed the energy of the earth, they would be buried underneath everything we know. Whatever structures they built, the houses, the fortresses, the temples, whatever, would be buried under flood deposits. That is, if the structures exist. These flood deposits have been identified, but they haven't been thoroughly studied, and nobody has started digging yet. Until archaeologists can dig their way into the depths of the earth, we won't know for sure what's down there, but we can guess. So drop your own guesses in the comments. The Silurian Hypothesis. Okay, so maybe there was a civilization 20,000 years ago, and maybe they were humans. And yes, maybe the whole slate was wiped clean by water. But what if there was an even more ancient civilization? NASA scientists are asking, what if we weren't the first advanced civilization on Earth? This provocative theory is known as the Silurian Hypothesis. Some people call it the lizard people hypothesis. But just to be clear, no one is saying intelligent lizards built spaceships in the Silurian era and are now living on some other planet, waiting to return to Earth. That's not the hypothesis, but it would make for a cool movie. The real hypothesis was put forward by two respected scientists, NASA climate modeler Gavin Schmidt and University of Rochester astrophysicist Adam Frank. They pose the question, what if lizard people evolved from dinosaurs and became the first human-like intelligent species on this planet? It is theoretically possible that an industrial civilization of lizards with opposable thumbs rose up millions of years ago, built cities, invented Wi-Fi, split the atom, and then nuked themselves into dust. Would they leave behind any evidence? Would we ever be able to find out? Statistically speaking, over millions of years, there could have been many civilizations on Earth that were wiped out by natural disasters, and we would never know. You'd think finding an empire of lizards would be easy, but it's not. The bad news is that Earth moves and shifts about, and things get lost very easily. For example, here's something you might not know about our planet. The ocean crust gets replaced every 170 million years. Tectonic plates churn and slide under each other. Anything that was around 170 million years ago is most likely underneath the crust of the planet at this point. Here's a fact that's truly mind-blowing. Less than 1% of Earth's surface is urbanized today. Less than 1%. Now, think about how crowded the planet is. Almost 9 billion people are running around right now, but our urbanized cities, New York, Bangkok, Paris, Berlin, Hanoi, they all take up less than 1% of the planet's surface. Now, what do you suppose happens in 170 million years when the crust is replaced? How hard do you think it would be to find even a trace of our modern world, even though it's so packed? Less than 1%. And you would think, just based on our own history, that there were not as many people back in the day, so probably even harder. Now, I know you're wondering about fossils. Did you know that fewer than 100 T-Rexes have ever been found, and many are represented by only a single bone? But scientists say there would have been millions, probably billions of them running around all over the place. So, billions of T-Rexes once roamed the planet. Scientists have 32 of their complete skeletons. So could a race of reptilian super creatures have built societies that elude all modern scientists? Absolutely. It's plausible. It's 0% confirmed, but 100% possible. But rather than pray that archaeologists stumbled upon the femur of a hypothetical Paleocene programmer, Schmidt and Frank argue there might be another way. Geochemical fingerprints. Ghosts in the rock record. Let's say you were a civilization with industry. You've got factories, transportation, pollution, maybe even nuclear power. You'd likely leave traces behind, just like our modern human civilization is doing. Even if the ruins of the cities are gone, the evidence of their existence should be around in the form of geochemical fingerprints. These fingerprints are things like carbon isotope spikes, unusual metal concentrations, persistent pollutants like PCBs, and radioactive isotopes from weapons tests. All of these geochemical fingerprints can survive in the sedimentary record. Scientists should be able to spot them. But, as you probably saw coming, there are problems. The biggest of which is that nature often fakes these fingerprints. Volcanic eruptions, tectonic burps, and rogue methane seeps can all leave similar signatures. For example, 56 million years ago was the Paleocene-Eocene thermal maximum. It was a sudden global warming event that looks, through the geochemical fingerprints, like man-made climate change. There was carbon, ocean acidification, metal spikes, deep-sea extinctions, all the things we are currently seeing in our world today. But because there are no fossilized highways or skyscrapers to prove anything, it seems it was made by nature. But was it nature? Or could the disaster of 56 million years ago have been caused by our lizard predecessors? Maybe they had their own nuclear war on a global scale. Or maybe it was just a really epic volcanic eruption. Frank and Schmidt are not ruling out any possibilities just yet, because for them, it isn't about proving that ancient lizard people had better graphics cards than us. It's about understanding how civilizations, including our own, leave traces behind, and how long those traces last. Another possibility is that there were previous civilizations that never hit the Industrial Revolution. Or if they did, perhaps they shifted to clean energy so rapidly that they left no geochemical signatures behind. The more sustainable a culture becomes, the more likely it is that no one will ever know they existed. This idea has consequences that go far beyond Earth. The famous Drake equation, which estimates the number of communicative alien civilizations in the universe, includes one crucial variable: how long civilizations last. If most civilizations self-destruct or go green and leave no trace, then no wonder the universe seems quiet. Maybe there used to be tons of alien civilizations, but now they are all gone, and their pasts are erased. If civilizations can vanish without a trace here on our planet, they can do it anywhere. There is the possibility that we will never meet aliens because they're all extinct, which might be a good thing. And now for underground structures found under the pyramids. But really quick, I wanted to give a shout out and thank you to Unintended Consequence for joining our membership program. Go ahead and click that join button for more exclusive content and to join the Origins Explained family. We'd love to have you. Ancient power grid under the pyramids? As many people suspected, the pyramids of Giza may have been keeping a secret deeper than any pharaoh's tomb. Earlier this year, a hidden, sprawling, subterranean complex was found stretching for almost a mile beneath all 3 major pyramids. These are practically the most famous monuments on Earth, and now it's looking like they might be sitting on top of ancient technology. According to a controversial radar study by Italian scientists Corrado Malanga and Filippo Biondi, there are incredible structures and chambers hidden beneath the Khafre Pyramid. Using synthetic aperture radar tomography and some proprietary algorithms, Biondi scanned beneath the Giza Plateau and uncovered a network of 5 identical multi-level structures, geometric passageways, spiral ramps, and cylindrical wells plunging more than 2,100 feet underground. I go more into the actual technology in this video here, so be sure to check it out after this one in case you missed it. At the bottom are what appear to be 2 enormous cube-shaped chambers about 250 feet tall and seemingly empty. Some have speculated that these 2 massive cube-shaped chambers were for some type of energy source or maybe enormous batteries. Whatever this massive complex once was, the theories are flying. A lot of speculation surrounds the theory that this thing might be a buried power plant, ancient tomb, or ancient tech. Then again, maybe they have simply stumbled upon the greatest burial complex in the whole country. Perhaps it's the tomb of Osiris, god of the dead. Maybe another ancient ruler lost to history. Or, if you want to take it even further, Anunnaki remains might be down there. With this level of discovery, you know the internet spiraled into a mad frenzy. And it's not conspiracy theorists and fringe scientists. This is the kind of discovery that challenges everything. Even before modern archaeology became the respected field it is now, people talked about the Great Pyramid being a power plant. Nikola Tesla thought it was a machine. So did Christopher Dunn. Tesla had a hunch the Great Pyramid was somehow used as a device for harnessing natural Earth energy, maybe even seismic power. It could have been something closer to a planetary capacitor than a royal mausoleum. And now, this discovery might be the first evidence. There is a blueprint buried under sand that looks like a coordinated system of shafts, chambers, and spirals, as if built to conduct something. Unless it's just a circular staircase leading to the Hall of Records. These scientists are making waves and think they have uncovered the very thing that Tesla suspected the pyramid was hiding. At least, they have found the outline of it. They still need to dig, but good luck getting permission. Everything Biondi and Malanga did was via satellite technology, so they didn't have to get permission to scan the pyramids. Even after this discovery hit international headlines, Egypt denied everything. The official story is the same. The pyramids were tombs built around 2500 BC with ramps, pulleys, and sweat. No magic, no machines, nothing to see here. If there is, they are going to be the ones to find it, not some questionable Italian scientists who didn't even go in person. This discovery, though not officially recognized, has sparked a firestorm of debate. Proponents of the finding argue it is as legitimate as any discovery has ever been, using the latest technology to peer beneath the Giza Plateau. And the Khafre project team behind it is desperate to start digging, but they will most definitely be denied permission. They want to know if whatever is under the pyramids is part of a lost civilization's advanced technology, something belonging to a pre-flood civilization. How old could it be, do you think? The world wants answers, but Egypt's Antiquities Authority has been extremely careful when it comes to anything that smells like alternative history, and so no digging will take place. Not for the foreseeable future, at least, maybe in a few decades. Until then, what's beneath Giza remains a tantalizing secret. Let me know what you think is hiding under the pyramids in the comments. I'd love to know your thoughts. Did Noah have power tools? Six Flags, Disney World, Universal Studios, These places might be fun for the whole family, but they've got nothing on the Noah's Ark theme park in Williamstown, Kentucky. It opened in 2016 and features an exact life-sized replica of the Ark. Seriously, there is a life-sized Ark, built by creationist Ken Ham, the man who recently defended his Noah's Ark theme park in a series of bold blog posts and public statements. Ken Ham said that Noah may have possessed tools and technologies more sophisticated than what humans have today. The argument, central to Ham's young Earth creationist worldview, hinges on biblical literalism and a complete rethinking of human history, evolution, and definitely archaeology. While scientists have clearly dismissed him, others wonder if he could be right. Or at least ask the question, what tools did Noah have? How did he know how to build the Ark? Based on the biblical account and historical evidence of ancient technologies available during that time, Noah would have had access to advanced woodworking and construction tools, as well as materials for waterproofing. While the Bible doesn't specify the tools, the technology available in the region of ancient Mesopotamia and the surrounding areas, the likely setting for the story, was pretty sophisticated. There were cutting tools, chisels, mallets, and manual drills. Levers, pulleys, and ramps would have been essential, and the Bible mentions gopher wood and pitch. In ancient Mesopotamia, bitumen, which is a naturally occurring asphalt or tar, was widely used as a sealant and adhesive. This was commonly used thousands of years ago to waterproof boats and even cement bricks together in city walls. Ham is going way beyond that technology. In Ken's view, ancient humans like Noah weren't primitive in the slightest. They were brilliant, possibly even more intelligent than modern people. Why were they so much smarter than us? Ken says it's because they were closer to the perfect creation of Adam and Eve. Also because they were unburdened by millennia of genetic mutations. He basically thinks we're kind of inbred now. Where he kind of loses everyone is that he says ancient people had power tools and more advanced technology than even today. People just got dumber. He also believes God created dinosaurs 6,000 years ago, so make of that what you will. Ken and other creationists believe that God created everything 6,000 years ago, from the moon to the stars to the T-Rex. In their worldview, the pre-flood world was short-lived. Adam and Eve had some children, the goat herders invented power tools right away, and God sent the flood to wipe them all out shortly after that. Tools lost to the flood? When asked why he didn't build his replica ark using ancient tools, Ham's response was simple. He said that he doesn't know what tools Noah had, and the Bible doesn't specify. I mean, it's true, it's not quite a manual, but it does kind of specify. He then pointed to Genesis 4:22, which references early metalwork. Ken says that one biblical passage is evidence that pre-flood humans were crafting with bronze and iron just a few generations after Eden. From there, Ham took his idea and ran with it. With centuries of accumulated knowledge, long lifespans, and God-given intelligence, ancient people built cranes, harnessed advanced metallurgy, and engineered machines that we no longer understand. In other words, God zapped knowledge directly into early human brains, allowing them to speedrun the Industrial Revolution, which allowed them to build a boat that would make the biggest Carnival cruise ship look like a paper boat thing. You know what I mean? So I guess Noah might have had construction equipment that would have put modern contractors to shame. And if it's all been lost to a global flood, there is no surviving record to contradict the claim. Nobody can prove or disprove Ken's flood theory. I mean, scientists can prove beyond any shadow of any doubt that dinosaurs were not alive 6,000 years ago, but that's a whole different story. Ken's argument fits into the larger young Earth creationist model that compresses all of human history and the entire fossil record into just the last 6,000 years. In this view, Neanderthals weren't pre-human ancestors, they were post-flood humans. Homo habilis, Homo erectus, and other archaic species that scientists tell us lived many millions of years ago, according to Ken, weren't evolutionary stepping stones at all. They were simply different populations of fully human descendants of Noah. And their intelligence may have exceeded our own. Ken points to pyramids, ziggurats, and out-of-place artifacts as proof that early civilizations were not primitive. In fact, Ken's whole idea is that human civilization was never primitive. All those hairy Homo erectus were apparently math geniuses and could build the Taj Mahal over a weekend, like the Amish with a barn. As for the plethora of ancient artifacts that date past 6,000 years, well, creationism isn't for everyone. The archaeological counterpoint. While researchers agree that ancient civilizations were intellectually capable, after all, they developed writing, urban planning, and monumental architecture, there is little evidence of pre-industrial technologies that rival modern engineering. But there isn't zero evidence. If you've been watching the channel, you've probably seen me cover some very suspicious places, like rock walls in Hawaii, Texas, and Siberia that were clearly carved tens of thousands of years ago. There are lots of examples of potential high technology employed by ancient people, and some of it dates back way past 6,000 years. What about Göbekli Tepe, confirmed to be almost 12,000 years old, and the first known human-built temple? Ultimately, the disagreement here isn't about whether Noah used a crane. It's about time, evidence, and how scientists interpret the past. Ken Ham argues from faith and scripture, imagining a pre-flood world wiped so clean that even its greatest achievements were erased. Archaeologists argue from data, pointing to what has been found, not what might have been lost, otherwise we'd be here all day. While critics often mock Ken's use of steel bolts and modern cranes to build his ark, he doesn't care. In his mind, Noah had steel, cranes, wheeled dollies, conveyor belts, hydraulic lifts, the whole 9 yards. The Forgotten Age of Enlightenment. There is a memory that humanity can't shake. It whispers from myths, it stares out from crumbling temples, and it floods the dreams of poets and prophets alike. It's the memory of a world that came before ours, a spiritual civilization, vast, luminous, and lost beneath the waves. Call it Atlantis, call it Lemuria, call it antediluvian. Because whether in Sumer, Egypt, or India, the ancients themselves claim to be descendants of these mysterious people swallowed by the sea. Notice the old cultures of the old world didn't boast of creating civilization. They always honored the people who already had. They accepted that the world was new, that others had come before, and that the knowledge of the ancients was their key to success. From Jewish flood legends to Chinese dragon chronicles, from Mayan codices to Vedic hymns, the narrative repeats with eerie consistency. There was a world before ours, and it fell. As sea levels rose at the end of the last ice age, roughly 12 to 10,000 years ago, the ocean swallowed coastlines worldwide. This wasn't a puddle. It was several hundred vertical feet of ocean, enough to bury cities whole and erase nearly every trace of early human habitation. And yet, some traces remain. Submerged sites off the coast of India, Japan, and the Caribbean hint at stone structures where only seabeds should be. Drowned temples off India, rectilinear ruins in the Gulf of Cambay, Cuba's underwater city. These anomalies are not proof, but they are most definitely an issue, and they're not going away. And now enter your controversial favorite archaeologist, Graham Hancock. Hancock argues that what scientists are finding in these submerged ruins and now in the mysterious flood layers under popular archaeological sites like in Iraq isn't a fluke. It's the muddy edge of a lost maritime civilization. And India might just be the missing chapter in humanity's origin story. While Egypt and Sumer often steal the headlines, Hancock points to India, a civilizational giant often cropped out of the ancient narrative. Yet no other culture has preserved such an unbroken record of its spiritual and historical past. No other civilization has over 30,000 verses of sacred literature describing rivers, floods, sagas, and stars with almost geological precision. Take the Sarasvati River. Dismissed by scholars for decades as mythical, it turned out to be real. Satellite imagery, groundwater studies, and sediment analysis confirm that this now dry river once flowed wider than the Mississippi. And what do the Vedas call it? They call it the mightiest of rivers. And what lines its ancient banks? Ruins of the Harappan civilization, which rose up alongside Egypt and Mesopotamia and was just, if not more, advanced. Mainstream historians insist that early civilization was about agriculture, bronze tools, and eventually cities. But in India's Veda scripture, and in many ancient traditions, civilization meant something else entirely. It was a conscious alignment with the cosmos. Many scholars believe that ancient humans weren't as obsessed with empires and economies as we are today. Instead, they were seekers, mathematicians, stargazers, and sages. So what if these so-called primitive ancients actually had a higher state of being than us? What if it wasn't physical machine technology they boasted, but better brains, more knowledge, and a deeper sense of purpose and connection to the world? If humanity once had access to a more advanced, more spiritually mature way of life, one we've clearly lost, then we maybe aren't the pinnacle of progress. You and I and everyone we know is a reboot, a rerun. The tech might be sleeker, but the wisdom might be gone. Meanwhile, our distant ancestors were walking around with their chins held high because they were one with existence. What do you think about this? Let me know your thoughts on pre-flood civilizations and what we might learn from them in the comments. Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit that subscribe button and check out our membership program, and I'll see you soon. Bye!